What's up, everybody? Coach Daisha here, bringing you this week's hot topic. I'll keep it short and sweet today, but I did want to address something that I get asked a lot, especially from people who are avid exercisers. So people who have probably been working out their entire lives, and yet now they're feeling a little bit different when it comes to their strength training, maybe even their cardio exercise, or just any type of workout in general. And that is, why does this feel so different now that I'm over a certain age, whether that's 50, 60, etc.? So I want to address that today. There are a few different components to keep in mind when you are working out at a certain age and why your recovery or the workouts themselves are going to feel different. So here we go. So the first reason that your workouts, especially strength training workouts, probably feel much different at this stage of your life than they did when you were younger has to do with the shift in hormones. So when we're younger, when we've got estrogen and testosterone flowing freely, it's so much easier for us to not only recover from our workouts, but to also build the muscle, the bone mineral density, etc., simply because of our age. Now, as we get older, those things are naturally declining, the estrogen and the testosterone. So as those two hormones are declining, so is our ability to recover quickly and our ability to build muscle, endurance, etc. So keep in mind, you may have been able to, when you're in your 20s and 30s, work out really hard and then maybe even go hard again the next day with very little recovery. The exact opposite needs to be true now that we've hit 50 and above. Meaning, if you work out really hard or have a really good strength training session on one day, make sure you give yourself at least a 24-hour rest period before you do that same type of workout or work that same muscle group. Remember, that shift in hormones is making a huge difference in not only how you build the strength, but also your recovery time. Something else to keep in mind as we age are natural aging processes. So osteopenia is actually not necessarily a diagnosis, it's a condition. It's something that naturally happens as we age. We're naturally losing bone mineral density with each decade that we're on this planet. Well, the same happens to your muscle, and that's called sarcopenia. So because we're naturally losing muscle mass as we age, it stands to reason that we're going to feel a little bit weaker than we did when we were younger. But I want you to keep this in mind. It's not that you are weaker, it's simply that you are rebuilding. So taking into account what I mentioned earlier with the hormonal shifts and making sure that you have recovery time, the same is true here because of the natural decline of muscle mass. We want to make sure that we are giving ourselves plenty of recovery time so we can build the muscle as opposed to keeping it in a decline as we go. We want the muscle to build itself, to get stronger, not only with muscular strength, but muscular endurance. And we can't do that when we're not taking our rest periods. So keep in mind that sarcopenia is a real thing. It's happening to every single person. It's not making you weaker, but you've got to keep in mind that you are simply rebuilding yourself at this stage in your life. One of the best things about aging is we start to pay a little bit more attention to our bodies than we did when we were younger. So it's not to say that when we were in our 20s and 30s that we didn't have, aches and pains in our joints. It's that we simply ignored them. Well, now that we're a little bit older and a little bit wiser, we're actually paying attention to those things. So sometimes it's not necessarily that we are enduring or experiencing more aches and pains. It's that we are simply more aware. So your awareness is a good thing. That awareness is what's going to keep you from injuring yourself long term. So always listen to your body. This is something that I tell my clients and patients all the time. Listen to your body. If you know the difference between soreness and pain, that's a good thing. And just because you're more aware of your joints and what they're doing now as you age, that's not a bad thing. It's something good, and it's something for you to make sure that you take into consideration as you move forward in your strength training journey. This next one is one that I probably harp on way too much, but that's because it is way too important, and that's form and technique. Once again, when we were younger, we might have been able to get away with doing squats improperly or deadlifts or push-ups, right? We were probably able to do all of those things with some horrible form and technique, and yet we thought we were killing it in the gym. Well, we cannot get away with that now. Form and technique matter most. And so when you start to pay attention more to your form and technique, sometimes that makes it feel like the workout itself has become either slower or less difficult than it was before. And that's not what we're trying to aim for. We're not trying to aim for you thinking that things are easier and not as effective. They will actually become way more effective for your strength training if you are doing all of your movements with proper form and technique. Remember, this is something that you were able to get away with when you were younger. We can't get away with that now, because if you are doing something improperly, you are setting yourself up for not only misalignment in the body, but you're setting yourself up for injuries long term. So let's make sure that we've got proper form and technique. If you're not already working with somebody who can help you with that, make sure you do that. One DIY way to make sure that you are doing things properly is to record yourself. If you don't have a mirror nearby, which most of us don't when we're working out, just grab your phone, prop it up somewhere and record yourself doing certain movements. Then watch it back. When you're watching that back, alongside maybe a video of somebody doing it properly, now you can kind of see the difference there and you can know what adjustments to make. But just know, form and technique trumps everything now and is much more important as we age than it was when we were younger. And last but not least on this list of why strength training or workouts in general feel much different as we age is because of our goals. We are probably working out now for completely different reasons than we did when we were younger, and that's a good thing. But the one thing that changes here is a lot of the goals that we had when we were younger for working out had numbers maybe associated with them, or maybe a physical aesthetic associated with them. Now when you work out, you don't necessarily have those numbers or that mirror image that you are trying to create that lets you know that you're actually progressing. And that makes the workouts feel a little bit different, right? Because you don't really know if you are making progress. I'm going to highly encourage you to go back and look at one of my prior videos when I talked about what progress can look like and how you can actually measure your progress when it comes to bone health. It looks different now, and it should look different. We have different reasons for wanting to work out. Maybe it's because we want to improve our grip strength. Maybe it's because we want to be able to carry our groceries by ourselves in from the garage into our house. Maybe it's because we've got grandkids that we want to be able to get on the ground and play with. Your reasons probably change as we age, and it's hard to gauge whether our workouts are helping us do that or not. But just keep in mind, if you are tracking certain measurements, especially functional and daily life measurements, you will see that your workouts are doing exactly what they're supposed to. And that's it, everybody. I hope that this hot topic helped you understand that strength training in our 50s and beyond is supposed to look and feel different. That's a good thing. So stay the course. You got this. I will see you next week for another hot topic.